Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Adrian Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
How are you?
Not great.
A little stressed.
All right.
A lot going on.
I feel like you've been really stressed the last, I don't know, I want to say
2 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Just really
Right.
stressed. Yeah. Does it settle down for you now with the holidays coming up, or does it keep going?
Keeps going. We'll see.
I'm exhausted. I'm just tired of fixing things that break. But I guess that's the beauty in technology. We were talking about it right before we started the show.
IT.
Yeah.
Welcome to your career in IT.
Yeah. Everything. I mean, it's just. There's no question. I mean, there's no question about it that if you work with computers, things are going to break. I just don't understand how they break when it's like a pivotal moment for you. A very
really,
important
because I am used to that kind of betrayal. I expect that to happen.
Well, I'm on a Mac, so that doesn't happen to me. But
I see.
I actually had to format my Mac this morning. You know, when everything breaks, it happens at the same time. My Mac totally went. I think it's because I was running a beta for so long, and then I installed on top of it, which Apple said, you know, you could kind of do this. You're not going to have a problem. But with the final version, everything just started acting up. So I just formatted everything and started fresh. And within 30 minutes, I was up and running because I don't run any applications on this thing.
Well, yes. I mean, I think I documented my travails with the Windows 10 stuff, although I think they fixed it. I think it's...
Are you on a new build?
Yeah. I mean, but, you know, I had installed it over previous builds like anyone would do, and that was disastrous. Like last weekend, a weekend before last weekend, I guess, I can't keep track of time. A weekend before last weekend, let's say. I clean installed, same problems, but this week they released an update, and I think it fixed it. Like it seems like my computer is back.
It's back and better than ever.
Well, it's back. I mean, you know,
I'm staying away from betas. I think it's time for me to stay away from these betas because
never.
I can't. I'm not going to install an operating system on something that I use on a regular basis. That's a beta.
I am, but I mean, I think obviously for some of the things that you do,
yeah.
You know, the recording stuff and all that. Obviously, you can't play with that stuff. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't mind it usually. I mean, this one's been particularly bad in some ways, but this build. But
do you want to talk about the new build? Can you? Is it better than the previous one? Because apparently last week when we spoke, you said it broke a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, so it's not that there's a new build. It's actually still that build. But what they've done now is, I guess they've issued 2 fixes, and one of them fixed the problem I was having with File Explorer, which is that over the course of using it for, like, say, 5-6 hours, it would slow down, and then it would become unreliable, and you would get like black bands in the UI. Nothing would respond.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem that the Mac that I just had with the Mac.
Yeah, I mean, and that touches everything, right? Because you could be in Microsoft Word and go to save a file, and because now you're hitting the file system, that problem comes up. And so at first I was rebooting it. I eventually figured out I could just crash the Explorer process and restart it, and that would work. But yeah, yesterday they released a fix, and I hate to jump to conclusions, but I mean, just in using it for the past day, this problem has not come up. And so right now everything is really reliable and where it should be.
But you did wipe everything out, right?
I did, yeah. I didn't, yeah. I mean, maybe I didn't have to, but yeah.
So apparently, and I'm a little surprised by this, our OneDrive conversations have been a hit, Paul. And a lot of people are asking a lot of questions about OneDrive.
Right.
So I was helping someone out yesterday, and we were both scratching our heads on this one.
Okay.
I have a 360. I have Office 365, right? And I got that email saying, "Hey, we're giving you the unlimited storage." So when I go look at my OneDrive, I have 10 gigs of storage. I'm sorry, 10 terabytes of storage on mine. Is that their unlimited? Is it 10 terabytes?
10 terabytes. Yeah, if you it's the step toward unlimited. And so I don't know that everyone has gotten it. But I think that people who, well, obviously it would only be Office 365 customers. I'm not sure if it's everybody, but basically that group of people that's heading toward unlimited got 10 as an interim step, just so they can get the system geared up for the unlimited push, and so people have headspace to copy stuff in.
Okay, so that's kind of what I thought. But my friends that were sharing he's using my Office 365 account. He only sees 1 terabyte.
From where?
On his through his OneDrive. The web or whatever. Yeah, when he goes into the web, it says 1 terabyte. It doesn't say 10 for him.
Yeah, but I don't think it's everyone.
Even if he's sharing my account.
Okay. What do you mean sharing? What do you mean by that?
Oh, maybe he's not using my account then. Maybe he was using his.
He has to have an Office 365 subscription.
He does.
But I was going to say, but even those who do, I don't think everyone just went to 10. I think it's some people. I think
it's some people.
They've evaluated how people are using it, and if you start using the storage, they bump it to 10 just to make sure you're.
So in Office 365, can I create users?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I allocate certain amount of storage for that user?
No, everyone gets it. It's free. It's unlimited for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can. Yeah.
So we were wondering if it was, you have to allocate it, or you got it.
No. If you go into, it's everyone's account is different. So if you go into OneDrive and go in down in the corner, let me just bring it up. It will say whatever amount is available. Mine says 9.8 terabytes are available, right? And then you click on Get More Storage, and it shows you where your storage is coming from. And so in my case, I have various bonuses where I got like 100 gigabytes twice. I got 10 gigabytes for here. I got 20 here. I got 15 here. I got all these weird little amounts that I got. But the big one is next to Office 365 subscription. It says 10.24 terabytes. I don't know why it's not 10. It's 10.24. And if you click View from that brings you to the Office 365 website, and it shows you where you are in there. Now, because I'm the owner of the account, I see everyone's information. Like if my wife or kid did this, they would probably just see their stuff.
They would just see theirs. But you could, so it doesn't matter. It's just everybody just sharing that storage. Everybody gets.
Well, no one's sharing storage. Like everyone has their own storage, and it's unlimited anyway. So the concept of sharing storage wouldn't matter. But the point is, if you have an Office 365 home subscription, and you can share that subscription with up to 4 people, those 4 other people all get their own storage. You're not all looking at the same thing. You know what I mean? Okay. You all have your own unique storage. It used to be 1 terabyte, but now it's unlimited, or will be unlimited.
Yeah, so what he was seeing when he went in, because he's a user under my friends and family, he saw 1 terabyte, but I saw 10.
Yeah, but that's okay.
That's fine. Okay, it's just a rollout.
We're just in this interim period. I like I said, not everyone got the 10 immediately.
Okay.
I think it's based on usage.
Interesting. Okay.
So maybe he wasn't using it at all, or was using just a very small amount.
Yeah.
So they didn't give it to him yet, but they would if he started uploading stuff. They would bump it to 10.
Yeah, I've gotten so many questions about this. A lot of people are interested, and I really think it's because of the tremendous amount of storage that they're providing.
Listen,
nobody asked me anything about OneDrive a month and a half ago.
Well, yeah. So, by the way, there's a lot of stuff like this in the Microsoft ecosystem. I'm not going to point out who this person was, but someone who should know a lot about Windows was confused about this topic. It's not Mary Jo, I should say. I'm not. As I'm saying that,
that's kind of who I went to.
It sounds like I'm not criticizing anybody. I guess what I'm trying to say is, people just don't know this stuff. So for example, one thing we should kind of talk about, just because it's kind of a fun thing, Microsoft is giving away over 100 albums ultimately through Xbox Music, right? I believe it's only available in the United States. The details of this are very iffy. It's not really, Microsoft has not done a good job of communicating it. They're also selling digital box sets for $2 each, right? And these are box sets that would cost, $15 to $100 each normally. And so this is a neat deal. And if you're watching the video, Andrew has brought it up on my website. I wrote an article about it. People don't get this. They don't understand what this is. They are freaked by it. And the thing I was alluding to earlier, the notion that people don't understand what you have. And let me just throw this out as a concept for you. Let's say you never intend to use Xbox Music ever, but you have a Microsoft account. What that means is you have an Xbox Music account. It means that on the web, you could go to music.xbox.com, bring up this web-based interface, and you can access the service. If you have a Windows 8 computer or a Windows Phone handset, you can bring up Xbox Music and you can access the service. Without paying Microsoft any money at all, you can in fact browse through their store, search for artists, search for albums, and you can add them to your collection. It's a cloud collection. It's up in the cloud. It's not on your computer.
You're not downloading
if you have
anything.
Well, you can if you want to, but for that you would have to pay for the Xbox Music Pass. But if you want to just stream it, you could stream your music collection to these devices today, without a pass. Eventually that's going away, by the way. But the point is there's a cloud collection. And so if for some reason you said, well, I want to buy this album on Xbox Music, whatever it is, the new U2 album, because you didn't already get it free from Apple or something, whatever. You buy it, you pay probably $9.99 for it. It's in your collection forever. So even if you never buy another thing from Xbox Music ever again, it's always there. You can always, and because you bought it, you can stream that. You could stream it to your phone. You could stream it to whatever. But you can also download it because it's yours, And if you download it, it's like a really high quality MP3 file. And you could bring that file to iTunes. You could bring it to Amazon Music. You could bring it to any service you have. I guess it allows you to upload or match music, Google Music, whatever. This free stuff that they're doing is that. It's free. It's really free. You could download all 100 of those free albums right now.
Okay, so I'm going to go there right now. So it's music.xbox.com, right?
Well, but here's the trick. So it would be tedious to do it from the web, right? Because you don't know what albums are free. And they're not going to advertise it on the website, right? So what they've done instead is they have an app that only runs in Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8 and higher, called Music Deals. And the Music Deals app gives you that list of all of the albums, right? And the cheap box sets for now. It's like a holiday. It's a holiday special. It's for a couple of days. I think it's 6 or 7 days, whatever it is. You basically would sit down in front of your computer on your phone and go through the list and pick out the ones you want. I mean, you might as well just grab a bunch of them, even if you don't think you want them, whatever. It's a fairly diverse collection of music. It's pop and rock and, rap and dance, and there's all kinds of stuff in there.
So I'm on the web right now, and I'm going based on your website, and it says Jesse J. That's the first one that I see.
Right.
Sweet.
Well, for example, if you know one that's in there, like if you can see like in the picture, it says Jesse J. Sweet Talker.
Okay.
You could go to music.xbox.com and you could search for Sweet Talker.
I found it.
And you could get there's two versions of it because I use this as an example. And the first one, which is the gray one, right?
There's the deluxe, and then there's the other one.
Right. You want the gray one, not the brown one or whatever, I think. And what you should see is that, and maybe you have to do this from the Windows app. I've not tried this from the web. I'm going to bring this up on the web as we do this. But basically, it's available for free.
Okay.
So instead of paying $9.99 for it, you could just buy it. Now, if you can do it from the web,
I don't know
the way the web,
yeah,
if you can't, you might have to use the app. But if you can, it's not going to try to download it. It just adds it to your collection. But you could download it at any time. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you have access to a Windows computer or a Windows phone,
this is great. Go and download it.
Just go get them.
It's 100 albums.
Don't download them. Just get them.
Yeah.
You can download them later. And if you use iTunes or you use, I don't know what else is out there, Amazon Music, whatever, it works with that stuff. you could just get it. It's just there. But the point I was trying to make earlier was that notion of the cloud collection. People don't get that this exists.
You know what? I'm going to ask you this.
They don't get it.
And I'm sure I've asked you this before, but do you think the Xbox name for branding purposes works for something like this?
No.
Because I've discussed this with a bunch of people about the Xbox services, like Xbox Music, and they go, "Well, I don't play video games."
Right.
Like I know what it is. You know what it is. Our audience knows, but I don't think people understand what it is.
So, from Microsoft's perspective, I guess what I would say, just to defend it, I mean, I agree with you. I actually think Zune wasn't a horrible brand or whatever, and of course,
it was or it wasn't.
Wasn't, but I think it's also I think it was a decent brand. They had a good logo, but it's tainted, right? There's this smell of defeat around Zune, and so I understand why they wanted to.
I don't think they gave it enough time. I think another 5 years they could have, possibly done something with it.
Okay, but here's the rationale behind it. I'm just stating this as Microsoft's rationale, not my own rationale. But Microsoft's perspective is this. At some point 3-4 years ago, more people were spending time on Xbox 360 doing non-video game related things than they were playing video games. So for the majority of the people actually using Xbox, it wasn't a game console. It was an entertainment set-top box. They were doing Netflix. They were doing whatever were doing. So I think that was the thought behind making Xbox Music and Xbox Video and moving away from Zune, because they felt that they had established this credible entertainment
with 80 million users. Yeah, technically. I mean,
But I think the reality of what you're saying is perhaps a bigger truth, which is that for the much wider body of people out there in the world, whatever the population of the world is, minus those 80 million or minus the 40 million that is 50% of that or whatever, Xbox is video games, and Microsoft doesn't do any job at all. They don't try to market Xbox Music or Xbox Video. They don't try to, they're never included in any comparison of services. They're never included in any story.
Even Zune, and I said this years ago, and a lot of people agree. A lot of people think it was dumb, but I really think that the Zoom software should have been bundled into Windows, and that should have been their new media player.
Well, now the Xbox software is bundled.
Now the Xbox software is. But, you're talking, years ago where you condition people to recognize a brand. Yeah. They're doing that now, but this is going to take years for them to kind of recognize it as, oh, it's Xbox.
So in 2006 or whenever the Zune software player first appeared, Microsoft was still in the wake of all of their antitrust issues and the bundling problems that they had, and they were not going to do that then. Today, they've switched the brand over to Xbox, and they don't have a majority share of anything, and so they feel comfortable putting that back in, and they've done that. It's just a matter of bad timing. I mean, if they had stuck with Zune as a brand, that's what would be bundled in Windows today. It would be the Zune software or whatever the modern version of the Zune software is.
It's nutty that iTunes. I guess iTunes now has competition because we've evolved the way that we consume media, where we're no longer having to download and hoard, and we're streaming everything now. So Spotify is more of competition for iTunes than Zune ever was, or even Google.
Right.
I don't think Google's really competing. I don't think Amazon. I think Spotify and services like that are really competing with it. But still, when you think of digital downloads, you think of iTunes.
Well, but this. Some number of years ago, Apple moved to make those songs DRM free, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
there is an issue for someone who has been on an iPad for 3 or 4 years moving to an Android tablet because they just bought all this software and none of it is applicable over here. I don't believe there's a single app that would say, "Oh, did you buy our app on iOS? We'll give it to you for free on Android." It doesn't really work like that, but music does work like that. You can, not very easily, but you could easily take a collection of music on any service and move it anywhere else because the music works everywhere. Aside from streaming services, no one has DRM protected music. If you bought music, or obviously if you've ripped music from CDs, that music is free and clear. And you could buy this music deal / Xbox Music stuff today and use it in iTunes if that's what you want to use. You could have gotten that U2 album for free from Apple, download it, and use it in Xbox Music if you want to, or in any other service. Like this stuff is all interchangeable, and I think that makes it a little easier just on the, just on the music side.
It's interesting. By the way, I was right before we started, I was reading your Google antitrust post that you made about the EU possibly wanting to try to break up Google. And as I'm opening it up, I'm like, oh, you know what's really funny? It's like the ghost of Microsoft Pass. And I click on it, and that's your little tag on the bottom.
Ghost of Microsoft Pass.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. They have an uphill battle now, too, because they've become so gigantic. But I don't know if they would be successful in terms of breaking up Google because it's so different now. I mean,
yeah, it's actually not the same thing. When the United States was talking about splitting up Microsoft, the talk was of 2 or 3 different companies, right? And so maybe there would be Windows and Office and some, other apps, or maybe it'd just be Windows and Office or something, or Windows and apps, both of those businesses were ginormous businesses. Everyone used to think of Microsoft as the Windows company, but really Office made more revenues than Windows for most of the time. So those would have been 2 ginormous companies. If Google separated search from everything else, you would be left with 2 companies: Google and some stupid little company that nobody cares about.
They're not making anything money from. Yeah.
And I don't mean to suggest that Gmail, Google Calendar, a lot of the other stuff they do is actually of very high quality, but it doesn't make any money at all. And so the search part of it, and obviously the advertising on top of search, generates literally 95% of their revenues. And so that company that would be the other 5%, Google Apps and Docs and Gmail and all that kind of stuff, Google Music, whatever. Android, yep. Yeah. Which, it would still be a viable concern, but it wouldn't, it's not Microsoft Office. It's like, this is a much smaller.
Also, remember, Microsoft was not in the business of giving things away for free at that point.
Right.
Even now, Microsoft's business model, it's totally different than what Google's doing. And Google, they're making the money from ads and giving away services. So when you take away the ad revenue and you split it, you start splitting up the company. What is the company making? You're going to have a lot of projects that they're investing a lot of money in. And they're not getting the gigantic return that they thought they would. Android would be profitable because they have patents on it.
Well, I think ultimately it would all be profitable.
They would all be profitable,
but it's just not to the tune of Google Search. Google Search is ginormous company on the scale of Microsoft or Apple. Gmail, Google Apps, Google Music is Spotify. It's a much smaller thing. It's not that it's not a good business. It's just that it's not the same thing. Windows, Office, 2 huge businesses
forever.
But Google Search and these other things, 1 huge business, a lot of little businesses. It's not the same.
I think we were talking about this a couple of years ago. We were talking about the search revenue that's coming in for them, and it's slowing down a little bit because people aren't searching the way they used to.
And they're going to mobile devices. And
how are they? And now that's my next question. How do they make up in 10 years when search is not as viable as it was in 2008, 2009? How do they convert that into something else? I think that's why they're trying so many different things, because they know the search, the way that we search is totally changing.
Well, yeah. And by the way, it's actually also the reason they're getting into trouble in Europe. So the foundation of that story is that there were these companies that you got to remember that the companies that Google is in trouble with in Europe are not search companies, right? Like, in other words, it's not Bing and Yahoo Search or whatever. It's not, there are no other companies like that. They're little vertical search companies. It's a company who built a business saying, all we're going to do is help you find exactly the right airline and fee, the fee structure you want to pay for flights. Like, we're going to do something really specific. So Google is this kind of ginormous entity, can look out, they can see what's going on in the world. And they can say, wow, the kayaks and Pricelines of the world are doing really good over here. Oh, look, these guys do really good with like book searches or whatever they might be. We can just, we'll keep pumping stuff on top of Google search so that people can do that with us. And we'll artificially game our search results, because if we just did it organically and people were searching for things, they would come up with those guys near the top. We don't want that.
Yeah, because
we're going to get them off the front page.
For a while.
We're going to put our stuff on top. And then we're going to pretend that we're scientists and we have organic search results. And, you can't beat the math. I mean, that's not what they're doing. And it's a classic abuse of antitrust power, right? When you have market dominance, which they do in Europe, especially where by and large, they have over 80%. In some markets, they have 90 to 90% market share. I think Germany is 95% Google search. They're beating up on little companies.
I mean, Amazon wants to get into the same exact thing. I mean, you brought up, flights and travel. Amazon wants to start doing where you could buy tickets directly within Amazon.
And Amazon is developing that infrastructure to make it possible with AWS and all the stuff they do in cloud computing. And so, the point being, though, that companies that can compete head-to-head with Google are you can count on one hand. It's Google, Google, Microsoft, not Apple, by the way, maybe Yahoo and Amazon. And Yahoo, actually, not really, because they're obviously building on top of Bing for their search stuff. But it's really just
Bing and
Google, Microsoft, Amazon.
It's interesting. But is it for the consumers? Is going to be bad? I know for the companies, but if you have a company like Google that's able to undercut everybody else, how bad is that for the consumer?
Right. So this is another classic antitrust argument. In other words, you could look at Amazon and say, well, they made books $9.99. I mean, it's cheaper for everyone. How is that bad? Short term, that kind of price is good. Long term, you could potentially put companies out of business and make it harder to find high quality published works and that were edited correctly by high quality companies and so forth. I mean, the fear on the Google side is the same fear we have with Microsoft, which is why I wrote that, which is that just by the virtue of the fact that they're so humongous, you halt innovation from occurring because you as a company, the basic game that you're going to play is we're going to compete somehow with Google. That means they're either going to buy us if we're really lucky, or they're just going to copy us and then they're going to put us out of business, which is more likely. And that Microsoft did that stuff all the time. Apple does it, actually, all the time. Google does it all the time. And, in each of these companies' cases, there are many stories where Apple meets with this company, says, we're really interested in what you're doing. Let's open the kimono a little bit, show us how you do what you do. And then they say, actually, on second thought, I guess we're not really interested in this. And then 2 months later, they come out with a duplicate of your product.
Yeah.
And in Google's case, it's even more insidious because they are the gateway to the internet for a lot of people. And in Europe, literally,
and if you upset them, you're really
90%, right?
You're gone.
And so we not only are you're competing with Google, but you're competing with Google in the sense that Google determines whether or not people even find you.
Yeah.
And so it's even more insidious.
How do people? I mean, you don't exist if you upset Google.
Right. You're not even on the web.
There were a couple of years ago, a lot of doctors and lawyers were paying to get black hat SEO crap like that. And one of my friends, he's a doctor, and his company was doing this. And all of a sudden, overnight, Google did that. I think it was Penguin. Was it Penguin? They did.
I don't know, but the SEO changes are amazing. It's like all the stuff you've been doing to be seen on the web is obsolete when you wake up on Monday.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, but the thing for this, it was actually good that Google was doing this because companies were really gaming the system, and it was hurt. I mean, they were doing a lot of shady stuff. So if they caught people doing this, they were gone. I mean, some people just totally disappeared. And this guy's company totally disappeared. By the way, there are things
that my company does today that date back to a Google SEO thing from 8 years ago that we just stopped thinking about it. We were just told by Google if we didn't do things a certain way, that we would be disadvantaged on the internet.
Yeah. That's the word that they use, yeah.
And this could no longer even be the case. We just do things. This comes up in meetings like, why do we do this? Oh, it was that Google thing, remember? Yeah, but is it still a problem? I mean, can we just... Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I don't know. You don't want to. It's like bringing a sacrifice to the volcano and hoping that the god you believe in is going to take the sacrifice and be happy.
Yeah.
You don't know. And by the way, that's
the nature of the internet.
That's the Google. I mean, that's what I mean. Microsoft was so scary 10, 12, 14 years ago to everyone. They became part of the public understanding of antitrust. It was like this big people were suddenly experts in this topic, and Google's impact on the world is so much greater than Microsoft's ever was, or probably ever will be.
Yeah, but
just by virtue of the fact that they are that gateway to the internet.
I think we've also changed the way that we perceive companies. You know, these big bad companies like Microsoft and Enron, and all these things that were happening in the late '90s. You don't hear about that anymore because now a company like Google, which could have taken that exact bad image that Microsoft did in the '90s. Knows how to kind of fluff it and knows how to make themselves into this, we don't do evil stuff.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Look, the world's biggest company, Apple, basically, is also one of the world's most beloved companies. And that's an about face. I bet Standard Oil back in the day was, respected, but I bet they were also hated, and they certainly were not beloved.
Yeah.
And so Apple is in a unique position. I mean, they always have been. They're goofy like that, but Google, I think people are finally starting to wake up to the fact that, by the way, I want to be really clear. They make good stuff. I mean, across the board, I really like Google stuff, but you need to kind of accept that thing with Google. You are the product. You're giving up your privacy. They are selling your information, and I don't think I think people literally, I don't mean literally, but I think people are, it's that thing where you're like, no, I don't want to hear that. Like, Gmail works for me. Just be quiet about this. I don't want to hear it.
I kind of want to touch on the Xbox again because to kind of go back to that because I totally forgot and to kind of backtrack a little bit. It's 1 year since the Xbox came out. Xbox One. What do you think in a year?
Right. Do you have an Xbox? I mean, do you game at all? Do you? You spend time on this? Is this a concern for you?
Well, I play one game every couple of months. It's called the update game, where I turn all my devices on, and I just do the update on all of them, and then I shut them off, and I put them back to sleep. They go to bed.
Well, we're going to look back on this era that we live in, and there's some things we're just going to shake our heads at. We have to charge these devices every single day, really? Yeah. I just bought a device that can't last for a day. Well, what the hell's up with that?
What's that about?
But the big one, I think, is going to be this notion of you buy any device, I don't care what it is. It could be an Apple device. It could be a smartphone. It could be a Google, like an Amazon Fire Stick. It could be an HP tablet. Doesn't matter what it is. When you turn that thing on, you can't use it until you update it. And that's nuts.
Oh, it is. No, it is.
Nuts.
I updated my PS3. I updated my 360.
Yep, it's crazy, and we got to figure that one out. I think we will, but anyway, Xbox One. So I think the big story with the Xbox One is just that, from my perspective, as a very limited gamer, in the sense that I game actually almost every single day, but it tends to be the same game. I could have saved myself $500 to $1,000 by not investing in an Xbox One until this year. And I would have just played the same game all year and everything would have been fine. It would have been a little louder, I guess, but it would have been a lot less expensive. So there's that. But I think the big difference between now and a year ago is that, for example, this Friday through Sunday or on Monday online, you can buy an Xbox One with at least 2 games and other deals, depending on where you go, for $170 less than you could get an Xbox One less.
With no
Christmas.
Games.
With no games.
Yeah.
And it did come with a Kinect, which by and large is not necessary. That's a big change. And so I think we all agree Xbox One was too expensive last Christmas. This year has certainly proven that. They've dropped the price like 3 times now, depending on how you look at it.
I'm actually shocked at that. I'm shocked that they've dropped the price so many times. I wasn't surprised when they removed the Kinect from it, because that kind of made sense to kind of be competitive in the pricing with the PlayStation. But the point that they've dropped the price again.
Well, here's what's happened.
Nutty.
They've never won. No matter what they've done, blockbuster game releases, price reductions, disc bundle, Connect, they've never beat the PS4, not once. Maybe this month they do it. Maybe Christmas, December they do it. I don't know. I mean, whatever. But this is all leading toward one thing. They want to be able to say we're number one. And I don't know why they didn't price this thing accordingly. I mean, if you want to multiply $10 million, 10 million units by $100, and you arrive at some huge number, but that's the investment you need to win,
to grab the market share. Yeah.
And they just didn't do it.
Is it because it's still the old way of thinking when it comes to gaming, where you buy the console, you lose money on the console, but let's try to make as much as we can, and you're going to make money on the games. But for someone like me, I don't care for the games. You're going to make money on the ecosystem. I may download Castle Crashers one day, and play some stupid Xbox arcade style game where it's easier to play, but I'm not going to go out and buy Call of Duty every time it comes out.
Well, there's something wrong with you, Andrew.
I'm sorry. I just don't have the brain power.
Actually, that's fine. I think the issue here is that on the Xbox One today, there are far more opportunities to sell people on games and apps and services than there ever were in the 360. And so that model even makes more sense now than it did in 2005 when the 360 came out, and you could only buy games by going to a place and getting a disc, bringing it home, plugging it in, waiting for it to wind up. I've had this thing for a year. I've never once bought a disc for it. Everything I do is digital. I love that. So that's been transformative, aside from the fact that most of the games I bought very recently, because now we suddenly have a lot of good choices in games. But no, I think back to what you were just saying earlier. I mean, I think the weirdest thing about this generation is when you compare it to the previous generation, Microsoft made exactly the same mistake that Sony made last time.
Yeah.
And which was to overprice it at the beginning, because in their mind, they have this superior product that they can afford to charge more for. People will perceive the quality and they will spend that kind of money. Sony only figured it out by lowering the price, releasing new versions of the console that had lower price components and were smaller and sleeker and fit better into people's rooms, and dropped features, by the way.
But
right?
Sony,
they dropped compatibility.
Sony did have an advantage.
You mean in Blu-ray?
It was Blu-ray. Blu-ray sold that device for many people.
Likewise, Microsoft has an advantage this time. The advantage this time was that TV integration.
Integration, yeah.
Right. I mean, so you can kind of make the case that those things are similar conceptually, right? Because today, they both can play Blu-ray discs. I don't think a lot of people are playing Blu-ray discs on these systems. I'm sure some are, but for people, the people that are important to Microsoft or Sony from a movie buying perspective are buying into their ecosystems and are buying those movies digitally.
Yeah.
And are doing that kind of thing, or are subscribing to services like Netflix or whatever and using that on their console. So Microsoft woke up to their mistake pretty quickly. I mean, here we are a year later and things are completely different.
I didn't expect the price to be this low. In $349, you could buy an Xbox on Amazon right now with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. So $329 on Friday, 2 games, depending on where you go. You got to look at some of these deals are crazy. I mean, there's all these additional things. And so I would say now it's funny because even 2 months ago, I think you could have made a case like, wow, the Xbox 360, they've got this, the final generation version of the console. It's really reliable and quiet. There's a huge body of games out there. You can buy digital games on the Xbox 360 now as well. It's not a bad deal, But then you look at what's going on with the Xbox One and the pricing there and all that stuff, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. Actually, this is making sense a lot more quickly than I thought it was going to. And that's good. That's a good change, because I had troubling feelings about Xbox One all year.
Because of
price. And in fact, was literally I'd started an article. Let me see if I can find it, because I started an article which I ended up not having to publish, which was about what a disaster the first year of the Xbox One was. And I basically didn't write it because I feel like they kind of turned it around. I don't see it in here, but over the past, couple of months, basically. And suddenly things are looking up.
So, by the way, guys, if you're buying an Xbox over the next couple days, or you're buying all this stuff for the holiday season, watch how I do this, Paul. Look at this. You could use our Amazon affiliate link.
Right.
Whenever you buy something on Amazon, use our link, go to gfq.co/Amazon, or the banner ad on the top. There's a bunch of Black Friday deals up there. Save that, bookmark that link, and every time you buy something on Amazon, go ahead and use that. We got a couple bucks here and there for every purchase, but it goes a long way. We're going to be redoing the studio in about a month or so, and we're going to use all the Amazon credits that we've built up in there to redo the entire studio. That's gfq.co/Amazon, or click on the banner on top of our website and bookmark it. And whenever you buy something on Amazon, go ahead and do that. A lot of great deals. $349. So you're saying $329 depending on where you are, and it's 2 games. I mean, that's great. That's phenomenal. You know what I would rather have? I'd rather have a second controller instead of a game.
Yeah, one of the offers, you have to look at this list, but one of the offers has that. There, a lot of the Black Friday weekend stuff is predicated on you physically going to a store. So it's going to depend on what store you go to. So there's different deals at, Best Buy, at Walmart, at Toys R Us, other stores. And so let's see if I can find the one with, there's one.
And I want the media remote.
Yeah, that one you got to buy separately. So where is the one with the controller? Why don't I see it? Oh, there it is. So Xbox One Assassin's Creed Unity bundle with Kinect, right? $429. So the Kinect is included. It's $100 right there. But if you get it at Best Buy, you get a free additional controller, right? And that's not bad. I think $60 right there. And I think if you buy it, looks like if you buy it from the Microsoft store, retail store, you get a free game, another free game. So you get those 2 free games plus another free game. So either one of those things is worth $60, right? So think about this savings here. Seriously, let's think about this for a second. Well, a lot of people may not want the 2 Assassin's Creed games. I get that. I mean, for example, I think if you were into Assassin's Creed, it's possible you would have had the previous game already, whatever. But whatever. Let's just not worry about that. Xbox One with Kinect is $500 normally. Those 2 games are $60 a piece, so say $120, $620. And then we add on the controller, the additional free game, and we're up to $680. Did I just do the math correctly?
Yes, I believe so.
So that bundle is $430.
That's not bad.
It's like $250.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really cheap.
I mean, that's just that's the difference between doing it and not doing it.
Are you doing anything? Are you doing the whole Black Friday thing?
No,
you're not.
That used to be a big thing for me. I did it more as a kind of a spectator sport kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like
to watch the fights.
Yeah, like I'm going to go down to the wrestling match and maybe I'll jump in the ring. What the hell?
Yeah,
throw a chair at some big guy or something. Great.
But
no.
I never do it. Jessica looks for the deals. Like last year, she got this obnoxiously gigantic TV. It's a little too big for our bedroom. We need a TV for the living room, and Paul has heard my rants and raves all week because of this.
Yeah.
And I want someone to explain to me how to buy a TV. I don't know how to buy a TV, apparently. I have no idea, because whenever I ask a question, a simple question, nobody has the answer. And that simple question is, how do I know which TV has the best display? Right? Like, I don't forget about the smart apps. Forget about
in a world in which the resolutions of the TVs are consistent and the content is likely not going to be over 1080p anyway.
I want a 1080p TV.
Well, obviously, but I mean, so what makes another display better than?
That's my question.
Yeah.
I've asked a ton of people. Yep. Nobody has really. They go, well, the contrast, the black levels. I'm like, no. Yep. I don't care about the settings. I'm talking about the physical display, the actual display on this thing.
Right.
How do I know which one is better and which one is worse? I have no way of telling. With monitors, it's a little easier, right? Because you talk about, because they go up and down in resolution, but you could talk about DPI, you talk about PPI with screens. That doesn't really exist for TVs. The best advice that was given to me, it makes a lot of sense, but it's a dumb response, and that's not what I'm looking for. Dumb not dumb that it's stupid. Dumb because it makes the most sense is, well, with TVs, it really depends on how far you are from the TV. The pixel density doesn't really matter because you're not looking at it, like here.
Yeah, and this is the conversation we had where you said, well, okay, I have a 46-inch TV. It's 1080p, which means it's some number of DPI. But now now TVs have come down in price. So now for the same amount of money, I could get a 60-inch TV. It's still 1080p, so the DPI is going to be lower. So how could that possibly be a better display? And I think part of it is you would typically not buy such a bigger TV for the same room, and that as TVs get bigger, they go in bigger rooms, and you might be sitting further away from it. So the perceived quality from the distance would be the same, hopefully, if it was identical quality.
Yeah. So, I did all this research. I mean, crazy research. And then I went to like a home theater website, like a couple of them. All of them are ranking these Vizios the best TVs you could buy.
Yeah.
And all I could think of is, that can't be real. Like, that can't be true.
Yep.
Why is Vizio the best one? And nobody's telling me why. They go, well, the blacks are great, and the contrast is great on this. And I go, okay, that's fine. That's a setting. I get that. Like, that's easy for me to determine. But why is this one better than the other one? No, but nobody could tell me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to buy a TV.
Right.
I don't care for the curved. I'm not getting a 4K TV. All I want...
No, by the way, all those things obscure the very simple question that you have. In other words, you should be getting a curved TV. Yeah. Okay. But seriously, back to the original question.
Yeah.
How are these things differentiated? I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, because on the computer side, you would technically, the way things are going in tablets too, much higher resolution screen in the same size panel. And so the quality is obvious. It just from a resolution perspective, it doesn't mean that thing will always be better, because there are other things that go into quality. But yeah, it's harder with TVs because until we go to 4K, the resolution's not going up.
Like,
even if you go to 4K, it's not going to matter because there's no 4K content.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, I have two displays here to my side. I have a Samsung and I have an HP. The Samsung is a much better display than the HP. They're the same exact resolution. But there's something, the physical display of this, it's better somehow. I don't know the exact reason why, but when I look at it, it's a much better picture on this one than the other one. Why can't I have that explained to me when I go to buy a TV?
Right.
Like, I want to know what makes this. And you know what? I would love more pixels. Why can't I have a 60-inch display? You gotta have the pixels. I want a 60-inch display in a 4-foot room. Right. I want to be right here, and I don't want to see any pixels. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the proper way to buy a TV. All I need right now is a 55-inch TV for my living room. That's it. I don't want to get something that I'm going to regret, because I never use this TV, and this TV should sit here for the next 7 years. I just don't understand what the price is.
That's not how TVs work, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? My Hitachi in this room, Paul, 2003.
No, I know, but that's old enough that it makes sense.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy a Vizio today that's going to be around 7 years.
I'm telling you, I regret getting that 65-inch. It's a little too big. And display is not great. But is it not great because it's a 65-inch, or is it not great because it's not a good display? I don't know. I don't know.
Our living room is not huge, and I want to say our TV is probably a 46-inch TV, so it's a Vizio, by the way. And whenever we upgrade it, I'm sure we'll go up a little bit, 50, whatever. I don't know how that goes, but that room is not big enough to support a 60-inch TV. It wouldn't make sense. It'd be like sitting in the front row at one of those, where you're kind of trying to follow the movie like it's a tennis match, because you can't really see everything without moving your head.
Yeah, I mean, they're just, I don't know, like, what to get. And then you got, obviously, 60 hertz is the lower end ones, but you get up to 240 hertz, which none of them are doing 240. They're being processed to do 240. It's crazy. Like, buying a TV is one of the most difficult things I've ever done.
Well, most people don't
obsess like this. Yeah. Most people are normal.
Right.
They go into Costco and they find the one on sale.
They look at two TVs and they say that one.
Yeah.
Based on how it happens to be tuned and how the lighting is in that store, which in no way resembles the lighting in your home.
No, you know what'll happen? I'll get it, right? Like, I'll get let's say it's on sale, and I'll buy it. Yeah. And it'll be in my living room. And I'll walk by and I'll notice one thing that's wrong.
Right.
And I will hate it for the rest of my life. And I will look at that. By the way, and I will.
You mentioned Costco. Are you going to buy it at Costco?
No, I'm probably going to get it. You know what's funny? Amazon does not do good Black Friday deals.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if you go to Costco, but I really recommend buying a TV at Costco.
Why?
Because they have an incredibly liberal return policy. And it's nice to have someplace local for such a big item that if you don't like it or it doesn't work out for some reason, you can go swap it for something else.
I don't even know where I would have one at Costco.
Okay. I mean, they just happen to be really good for that kind of thing.
Listen, for people that are listening to this podcast, I'm really losing my mind on a TV. all I want. Just help me out. Under $1,000. Recommend me something that's 55 inches, and I will have a stellar display.
The other thing you could do is like just get like a head mount for like a little mini tablet. You could just put it in front of your face like this
at all times.
Just like it would just seem like a seem like a 55-inch
TV. Nick on Twitter says contrast ratio mainly, but also black levels and back/edge lighting technology. Edge light with local dimming goes a long way. And if you tell me to get a Vizio, I'm going to jump off of my roof.
He says this?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, you said
that. No, listen.
Just get a Vizio.
I think I'm going to end up getting
a Vizio.
Yeah, apparently I did learn that there's two models. There's the E, which is like the economy, and then there's the M, which is like their higher end.
Okay.
So I want the M. I want the M class. Again, no idea.
I want the M class because it reminds me of BMW, and I like BMW M class cars.
Yeah. I want a Mercedes M class. Yeah. I don't want the E class. I want the M class.
Yeah.
I just want. I don't want a smart TV. Oh, that's another. I don't want a smart TV. I don't care for the Wi-Fi. I want a dumb television with a beautiful display. That's it.
Oh, they really actually Vizio sells really expensive TVs if you want to spend money on.
Oh my God, I know.
That's crazy.
I know, and I don't know what makes one better than the other one, except for like the widgets. You know?
Wow. I don't really want any widgets. I want the TV the way I want my internet access. I just want it to be the thing.
Yeah.
And I put my stuff on it. You know?
That's it.
Lots of HDMI ports would be great. That would be really good. You know?
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Like the economy class displays.
Yeah.
Are generally 2 HDMIs.
That's not enough.
No.
It's not enough.
I mean, maybe for me that's enough because if I'm just setting up my living room.
Mine, and I'm always unplugging and replugging stuff. You know, I mean, I test a lot of stuff, but
I could do 2 in my living room. I could go with 2.
Really?
Yeah. I'm just gonna get one thing.
Yeah.
So guys, suggest something, whatever. I want like you knew when you walked into a store, Sony were really good. So like you would go with the Sonys because they were the most expensive ones.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
You know, and you knew that what was the high-end Sony line?
The Bravia.
Bravia. Like, you know, those were going to be great. Like that was just going to be great.
It weighed 4,000 pounds.
They got commoditized out of that market, and Sony could no longer charge those kind of prices. They're going to give that business away. They're getting rid of that business, aren't they? Or they're
scaling back.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand that article. I was reading it today, and they were saying how they're going to scale back on everything except for PlayStation.
Yeah.
But what? You know what? That's a proper approach. Why should they have so many televisions that they put out?
Right.
Have one line with 3 TVs. That's it. You don't have to go crazy. Have like 3 different.
Yeah, do the Steve Jobs at Apple thing. Like, you've got this really complex bunch of crap. Let's get rid of all of it. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.
I feel like, wasn't it the Tinitrons? Was that it before the Bravias? Trinitron.
Yeah, those are the tube TVs.
I missed those.
You don't have a TV, you have a Trinitron.
Yeah, I have a relative growing up. They had a couple bucks, and they would always get the most obnoxious projectors. Like a 96-inch Mitsubishi. And it looked like garbage. Like he would,
and it heated the room.
Yeah, the entire room was on fire.
Like a wind tunnel.
Yeah,
you know. But it's like, look how big the TV is.
There was like a turbine in the back. You know, just cooling this thing.
I can't hear Star Wars. It's got this buzzing sound.
We would go over, and we just like he'd be like, "Oh my God, look at this TV! How great does it look?" And I was young, and all I could think of is, "This looks awful."
Yep.
It's just, I can't go to the left. I can't go to the right. You have to line up in a single aisle right down the middle. That's the only way to watch
like
this.
A toboggan. You just put a toboggan in the middle of the living room so everyone knows where to sit.
And they were just giant piece of garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, they were awful.
No, there's always people like that, you know.
So
my dad had not a laser disc. Was it laser disc? It was the type of thing. It came in a sleeve like an album, and you would put it in. I'm sorry. You could probably do it this way, but you would put it in, and then it would spit the sleeve back out, so the disc would be in there, and then you'd watch the first half of the disc, and then it would spit it back out, and you'd have to flip it over.
Yeah,
but you never touched it. I think you actually had to put the sleeve in and then reverse it. And it would, because you never actually touched the disc. the disc was very, fragile. And it wasn't, I think it was pre-Laserdisc. There was another name for that.
There was one before. I don't know if there was. I don't know.
But it was a laser. It was, an album-sized movie. But for a movie like Empire Strikes Back, there would be 2 discs, 4 sides. So you'd have to flip the thing, to watch the whole movie.
I remember when I was in school, I was young, probably like kindergarten or first grade. I had a teacher. I had a computer class, and the teacher brought out this giant record, but it was a CD. But it was gigantic. And he goes, "This is a CD." And I was awed by this.
But it was big.
It was gigantic.
Okay.
It was huge. It wasn't the CD that we know.
What was it, though?
I have no idea. I've always wondered that. I wonder if it was like a dummy demo thing that they were showing us, so everybody could see, or it's like an actual thing where it was like nearly the size of a record.
They wanted it to be the size of an album, but then the reason CD took off is because they could bring it down to a more manageable size.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's what it was.
That could be.
Hold on, Paul. Jess, you okay? Did you fall? You hear that? Oh my God. All right, let's wrap it up.
And the show's over.
And the show's over. Hey guys, if you want to help us out, you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/whatthetech. You can fund us there. We accept anything and everything. The holidays are here. We need sneakers and underwear and t-shirts. Apparently I need to replace whatever's collapsing I guarantee you it's the blinds. We don't do well with blinds in this house. They all collapse. I don't know why and how. I've broken 3. Jess has broken 2. Go to patreon.com/whatthetech. You can fund us there. And all things Paul at The Rot. Go to winsuperside.com. Follow Paul on Twitter at The Rot. You can follow me at Andrew Zarian. And for everybody in the States, happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you all next week.